Simon Trizelian here, the voice of reason. Today we're going to do part 2 of the Christmas story. Remember, this is for entertainment purposes only, and it is just a story. However, as we go through the story, if there's different parts that I know to be pretty much on the money, I'll just tell you. So we left Jesus Christ, didn't we, at the bottom of the cross, being tended to by Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary, or Miriam. What most people won't tell you is that Jesus actually had 5 other brothers and sisters as well. You know, that seems to get left out of the Bible. But then we meet this new character who suddenly turns up at the cross and blows everything up. Okay, so his name is Joseph of Arimathea. We've never heard of him before. He just suddenly turns up. He's the guy that's going to give over his private tomb for Jesus, all this type of thing. Now, first of all, let me just say that Jesus is naturally not what he was called, okay, because there is no J in that language. Okay, it was Iasu, okay, so that is basically, or Ishaya. So essentially what happens is he gets taken and put into the tomb. And 3 days later, okay, they go in there and he's gone, you know. Where is my master gone, she says. And then an angel appears, or a person in white raiment. Now this makes a lot of sense if Jesus was indeed as we know he was, which is an Essene, because the parfaits, or the perfects as it is, used to wear white robes, and they were given that at 21. Okay, so that's when they actually became a full member of the Essene sect. So at that point he has ascended. Okay, now it doesn't mean he's just gone up to the sky, because obviously he hadn't, because he comes back down and speaks to the actual disciples. But Joseph of Arimathea is a really interesting person, because when you understand the old Judaic culture of the time, is that they had certain names, just like the Balinese do now. So everyone, the head of the family, was always called some element of Joseph or Josephus, yeah, or Iasu, that type of thing. Right? Now, the anglicization of the names is a little bit confusing, but the second son was always like James. Okay, so that's why James is such a powerful person within the actual disciples. He's Jesus' brother, right? Now, as soon as Jesus, we'll keep saying Jesus, right, died, that means that Joseph then has to sort of, well, it means that James then has to become Joseph, okay? So he steps up and assumes the new name of the person in charge of the family, becomes head of the family. So Joseph of Arimathea, the reason that we haven't seen him in any other part of the Bible and yet seems to take such a prominent position, is that he's actually Jesus' brother James, who then becomes Joseph of Arimathea. Now, one of the major things in that culture was that you looked after your brother's wife, okay, if you, on the basis of your death. So he then takes Mary Magdalene, okay? Now, Mary Magdalene is actually the Holy Grail. Now, when we talk about the Last Supper, it says that the Holy Grail was at the Last Supper, but there's no cup, because it's not a cup. Leonardo da Vinci knew this, because Leonardo da Vinci was the Grand Master of a secret society called the Priory of Sion, and we saw all about this in Da Vinci Code, right? But actually, the Holy Grail is in the Last Supper. She's actually to the right of Jesus. She is actually to the right of Jesus. When you look at Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, you see that to the right of Jesus, in the form of an M next to him, that is actually Mary Magdalene. And this is why James says, "Why do you love her more than us? Why do you kiss her upon the mouth?" Okay, so this is a real element to that. Now, at the Last Supper as well, it was really, really important that he actually attunes them, right? He attunes them to a higher perspective, and he says to them, "Greater things you will do than I." And then it says, I think it's John, then it says, he then breathed upon them and filled them with the Holy Ghost. This is about clearing the channels, allowing the ascension process, okay? So so think about this. This is where it gets really freaky, right? So we have Joseph of Arimathea and Mary Magdalene. But Mary is the chalice. The chalice is the womb. And the holy blood is the blood of Christ that impregnated Mary Magdalene, because we know from the marriage of Canaan that she was actually his wife. So he was securing the bloodline. That is what the Arthurian Knights of the Grail were looking for. They weren't looking for a golden chalice. They were looking for the bloodline of Jesus Christ, because the prophecy that I told you about last time had still not been fulfilled. In that, the reincarnation of Elijah will recognize the Messiah. What is the Messiah? The anointed one. Recognize the anointed one who will be betrayed, killed, rise again after 3 days, and then march triumphantly into Jerusalem wearing the armor of David, at which point all Jews would rise up, because it's the Passover, that's the only time that they're there all together, and throw off the Roman oppressors. That has not still been fulfilled. So they had to look after the bloodline, and the bloodline was Mary Magdalene. That is the Holy Grail. So think about it now. You've got Mary and Joseph. Mary is pregnant, but not by Joseph. Does that ring a bell? You see, the nativity story is ass about face. So no wonder there was no room at the inn, because they were like convicted terrorists. They'd just seen their leader nailed up on a cross. Even though I believe that he lived from that. And then, of course, he had to go. He couldn't just come back and say, hey, guys, I'm still here. Because what are they going to do? They're going to nail him up again. Okay, so he left. He went back to the place that he got a lot of his learnings from. Because the Ashaya monks, okay, which is in Ladakh, in northern Pakistan, in this area called Srinagar, there is actually a tomb, Jesus' tomb. And these Ashaya monks actually gave this Mediterranean youth, they had it in their texts, of this Mediterranean youth that came and showed such great promise. And they supplied him with a lot of wisdom. And in fact, part of their writings was the Temple of the Mount speech. The Temple of the Mount speech has been found written in Sanskrit 2,000 years before Jesus lived. So he was quoting stuff that he actually knew. And in Srinagar, you can still find to this day the tomb of Jesus. And you read the book Holger Kirsten, okay, Jesus lived in India. Right? This is after the fact. So now Joseph and Mary have to leave the country because they're being sought after. This was just like, you know, the Romans looking out for a terrorist group. So that's not why there was no room at the inn. So they went to different parts of the world. We know for a fact that they actually landed in Marseille in France, okay? And there where they met up with the Cathars, the Cathar heretics. And the Cathar heretics, we think, actually looked after them for a period of time. And that is when you had what is called the Albigensian Crusade, where the Roman Catholic Church, I mean, later on, actually tried to destroy the Cathars, right? But before that time, these Cathars were part of an overall, what we would now call a Christian sect, but it wasn't Christian. It was what we call esoteric Christianity. Now, they went from Marseille and they went to Glastonbury in England, where they set up the first Christian church. This is fact, okay? The first Wattle church, you can look it up, is based a part of Glastonbury Cathedral, okay? Glastonbury Cathedral was destroyed by Henry VIII during the Reformation. And it's actually the burial place of King Arthur and Guinevere. I cannot make this shit up. I'm telling you, all right? So Joseph and Mary, right, find themselves in Glastonbury, where they set up the first of the Christian churches. I'm going to leave you right there because I'm just trying to get this under 10 minutes, okay? There's so much more of this story. This is the true Christmas story. The nativity story you've been told is actually, well, in my story, let's put it that way. And of course, it's for entertainment purposes only. Don't take anything I say. But yeah, all right? So that's it for now. I will continue with the Christmas story a bit later on. Simon Trezelyan, out to you.